Hi guys, it's Dakota from the Hallowed Cauldron. Welcome, welcome. If you happened upon my video that I posted yesterday, which was Monday, and that is the day that I post my videos, you're going to notice that it has been deleted. And the reason that it has been deleted is because I thought that I could go in after I went ahead and published it. I've been reading and studying about how to add neat little doodads and still pictures and things, how to edit basically your YouTube to make it a little more fun and exciting for those that are watching. And I thought, gee, I know enough about this, and so I'm going to do it. Well, I decided to do that after it was already published, because reading up on it, you can do that. So I went on there and I clicked the edit and I started doing what I thought I was going to do, and I mean to tell you, it was a jumbled mess. And I thought, okay, I'm not going to do this. I'm just going to post it as it is, and I still need to do some work. And so I deleted the video. I didn't mean to delete the whole video, but I did. Instead of just going back and to the original video and keeping it. I don't know how I did it, but that's what I did. So it's gone. It's gone. So I decided today, it's Tuesday, I'm going to do I'm going to take that video, which was yesterday, and it was like a 20-minute video. I'm really trying hard to get my videos down to like, a 10-15 minute video. I swear I don't know how you do it. But anyway, I've taken out a bunch of stuff from that video to try to shorten this up a little bit. I would really like to get more views, and I don't really know how to go about doing that. And so I'm going to shorten it a little bit. Maybe that will help. If anybody out there is watching me, maybe you'll share the video, tell others to watch the video, maybe like the video, leave a comment, do something so that I know I'm getting some activity, or leave a comment, how can I get more views? I could use help with that still. Okay. So anyway, the Book of Shadows, that's what we're going to talk about today. And real quickly, I've been distracted this last week. We have Hurricane Dorian that is headed up now into the Carolinas, and I am here on the North Carolina East Coast. So right now it is tracking that it's going to hit us as a Cat 2. It has changed over the past 5 days that we've been watching the thing, but we're still making the preps as if it were, so my mind's kind of boggled with that. So please forgive that part of it. Okay. So the Book of Shadows, I think it was last week I posted the video on witchy herbs or herbs and a witch that has some OCD. That is true. I do. I have worked on it over the years and years, and it's not so bad now. It is manageable, and I'm not so crazy with that. I'm still crazy, but not with the OCD. I still have a few little issues, and they are what they are. Well, my Book of Shadows is kind of one of them. So what I wanted to present to you today was just how I manage my Book of Shadows. One of the things is that I'm not an arts and crafty person, like I explained, I think in the intro video or something. And so my books are not fancy. I don't paint, I don't draw, I'm not good with clay or with creating things. I've seen numerous videos from the various witchy crafters out there who, oh my gosh, I wish I had that creativity that you have. You have created some of the most beautiful things. You can draw your Book of Shadow pages. Your outside of your books are gorgeous. What I use is a 3-ring binder, or one of those little spirally notebook things that what you would take to school with you, just a notebook with the little wire spiral thing in it. And I have several of those. Some I just use for notebooks. I might take them to a class that I'm attending, or a workshop or something like that, and jot down my notes. But I have some that are specifically for herbs. I have one that's specifically for oils, incense, different things like that. And each one is dedicated to that specific thing, as opposed to putting, oh, here's a cool thing on an herb and sticking that in my book of shadows. So I can't have that in my book of shadows. However, I have gotten much better with doing that, and how I do that is I use tabs in my book of shadow. So like I said, I use a 3-ring binder, and I have tabs in there as well. But I keep my notebooks because there's a lot of information in the notebooks. But those pages, you can tear out those pages and you can stick them in your book of shadows. Or, you know, the pages fold back. So sometimes what I've done, if there is a really interesting note that I've written or work that I've done with a particular herb or whatever it is, and it's in my notebook, in the little spirally notebook thing, but for whatever reason I want it in my book of shadows, and I don't want to take it out of the herb spirally book, I'll just make a copy of it, and then I'll stick the copy in my book of shadows. And like I said, my book of shadows now has tabs. So what I'm going to show you is now this is I'm not going to show you my personal one, but it looks very similar to this one. What I'm showing you now is my book of shadows. This is my teaching book of shadows. This is the book that I use when for my classes that I teach at the shop, for the Witchcraft 101 class that I teach at the shop. It's a year-long course based on a year and a day. And so this is the book that has all of my information in it. And as you're going to see, it is just a black 3-ring binder. And I have taken and divided our class. We do weekly classes, and they're divided into sections or into weeks. Maybe this week we're doing divination, or maybe we're doing herbs, or maybe we're doing a class on hermetics, or whatever it is. It's divided into sections, and that makes it really easy for me. I just go to the section, has the week in there that we're on, and everything that I need for that particular section or that particular study that we're doing is in that section, divided by the dividers. And like I said, my personal book of shadows looks exactly like this. In fact, it's a little more boring because I don't even have a sticker on it. And this book has this adorable little owl duct tape on the binding part right here, because it was all falling apart, and I just didn't want to transfer all these pages into a new book, so I just used the duct tape on there, and I thought, oh, look how cute, I've been crafty. And so basically that's it. That's what I do. What I have found with the Book of Shadows too is that when I'm working personally, or even in our group or coven, our altar is it's not tiny, but it's not this huge giant table either, and we have very simple altar, which I will talk about altars in another video, my altars and how I work altars. And so there truly is not room for a big giant book like this. Imagine this book like opened. It's huge. I mean, it's just huge. There's not room on my altar for that. So, and I know there are some witches who have like these pedestal book stand things that they put next to their altar, and those are fantastic. I tend to stand when I'm doing ritual or even my magical work. I like to stand because I like to move when I'm doing ritual. It creates energy, and so sometimes that means moving my arms around, or maybe I'm dancing or just doing whatever I'm doing, and I'm afraid to have a pedestal with a big giant book there because chances are I'm going to hit it, it's going to fall, it's going to break everything on my altar, and I don't want to do that. And there's just literally no room on my altar for the book. I do sometimes with my magical workings, I do sit on the floor. I have another table that is a low table, low to the ground table where I put all my things. And then a big book like this would be fine. I can open it up and have it right there on the floor, and that works out better because I'm not flailing around the altar or the circle. So anyway, but now I do take, the thing that I like about having the 3 ring is that I like to have my papers with me when I go into circle, whether I'm doing a ritual or whether I'm doing a magical working, because I have maybe a poem written or words of power written. If I'm doing a devotional ritual, maybe I've written a hymn or some sort of devotion that I want to speak these particular words. And if I don't have it memorized, or even if I do have it memorized, there's a chance that maybe I'll forget. And if I'm doing a magical working, I definitely want my paperwork there, because if that includes adding things to your magic, adding herbs, and the herbs are added in a specific order at a specific time, I want that stuff written down so that I haven't forgotten anything and that I'm doing it in the order that I intended to do it. My brain, it doesn't always work 100%. It doesn't always work 50%. So sometimes it doesn't work at all. And I just like to have my papers there. What do I do with my papers then? Because, they're smaller than the notebook for sure. A lot of times there's not room. Specifically, I do try to leave a little area on my table for my paperwork. It is part of how I set up my altars. And when we do the altars video, I will show you that. But sometimes, especially like when we're doing group ritual and we're doing workings and there is, several things on the altar and there's no room, I will fold my paper in my cord around my waist, or if you have a belt, or stuff it in your shirt, or maybe sometimes I'll just stick it under the altar, and that just means I have to bend over and get it and read what I'm doing, or hold it in my hand if I can use one hand. So there's ways around putting the Book of Shadows on the altar or having it in a book stand next to the altar, which really makes me nervous. And although I would love to have this really beautiful Book of Shadows, and I think I don't keep my Book of Shadows out exposed anywhere, except for the one that I just showed you, because this is the teaching, my teaching Book of Shadows, and so I have to have it with me when I go to class. But my magic room, which is upstairs, is very, very private. It's mine, and it's just me and my husband here anyway. He's not like-minded. He's supportive, but he's not like-minded. He could care less about what's going on in that room. And if he does happen to go in that room for whatever reason, who cares? He's not disturbing anything. But no one goes in that room. It's just me and him, and the room is too small for our group coven activities, and we will either do that outside. Oh, it's getting dark outside. I can see the shift in the camera. So we will either do that outside. We have a classroom at my shop, and sometimes we will, if we're working indoors, because North Carolina, we never know what the weather is going to be from, minute to minute. So a lot of times we'll just go ahead and set up in the classroom, and that way we don't have to worry about the weather, if it's going to rain, or if it's 100 degrees out, or if it's 20 below. So a lot of times we'll just set up in the classroom and do it there. So there's not a whole lot of room in my magic room upstairs for a lot of people. So no one goes up there. So I don't feel the need to have my, to create this big, beautiful Book of Shadows. I think they're lovely and they're gorgeous. I have a lot of stuff in my room upstairs, as I've mentioned before. It's not a room for somebody who has OCD. Trust me, it's too much. But sometimes I have things, different altars going on at different times, different things going on. Plus, in my closet upstairs is my craft room. I have a door. It's in a closet, so I'm able to keep that closed. But there's just a lot of activity and stuff that goes on up there with just me personally and my stuff. So anyway, back to the Book of Shadows. I need to keep on point. So yeah, so I love being able to take my pages out easily, and if there's something that I want to add to my Book of Shadows, it's very easy. I just 3-hole punch it, put it right into the Book of Shadows. Is it pretty? No. Is it magical? Absolutely, because it's not the book that's magical. The book itself, this book right here, this is a 3-ring binder that has a bunch of papers in it. Those are not magical. They contain some knowledge and they contain some magical information. What you do with that information is what's magical. What is in you is what's magical, not what is in that book. The appearance of the book doesn't make it any more significant or any less significant. It is all in how you perceive your magic. For me, the more simple and the less I have to worry about the decorations or whatever, the less stress on my mind, because I'm not crafty, like I said. I would love for it to be beautiful and gorgeous, but for me, the magic is within. For me, the magic is in here. It's what I know, and it's what I do with the information that is in these pages. That's where the magic is for me. And I am the kind of person in my work that I don't actually need my Book of Shadows, in this case, to be sitting on my altar with all the beautiful sigils and gorgeous charms and paintings and cutouts and everything to make me feel magical. I simply don't need that. My focus is within, my intention is within, and the magic is within. I need the Book of Shadows because that's where my records are of things that I've done in the past, things that I want to do in the future, my thoughts on those things, and my reflections on those things. I do have journals for those, but sometimes I like to put them right in with that particular magic, especially when it comes to my devotional things that I do, where I work with a specific deity, and and I would talk about that another time. And I'll do maybe I'll do a meditation, or I might do some journey work, etc. With that particular devotion that I'm doing, and just as a gratitude thing, I might want to just sit and really try to connect, and perhaps I get a message, or perhaps I get an aha moment, or there's a reflection, or there's something interesting that touches me. I will put that in my Book of Shadows with that devotion. I date it and I put it in with that devotion because it's a good thing it's good for me. I'm able to go back and reflect and go, wow, I remember that. That was amazing. I felt so connected at that time. And then there's things in there also where I go, yeah, I didn't feel anything. If I didn't feel anything, what was going on with me? What happened that day? Where was the moon? Where were the planets? What was going on? All of that is in there with that particular ritual or with that particular magic that I'm performing, so that I can relook over my notes, because if it was something magical and I wasn't feeling it, or the magic didn't work, I go back and I look and I go, oh yeah, the planets were blah blah blah, and I ignored that, and this is what happened. So now I know what's going on. So so that's it. That is how I do my Book of Shadows. It is not fancy. It is just a 3-ring binder. It works for me. This book is fancy to me. Has my little owls on there, and but my personal Book of Shadows, which looks just like this pretty much, has the dividers in there. It helps me. I have several notebooks that are specific little books of shadows. I guess that's what I call them. I just call them my books, my herb book, my recipe book, my oil book. That's what I call them. So that's what I wanted to talk with you about today. It is what I talked about yesterday. It was a little longer yesterday than it was today. A little bit boring yesterday, I think. If this one is boring, I'm going to go back and look at this one. If it's boring, too bad. I'm not going to try to edit this one, and because I'll end up deleting this one, and I don't want to do that again. So that's all I have to say. We will be happy to take all of your good thoughts and blessings for us with this Hurricane Dorian that is coming our way, and at the same time my heart goes out to all of those in the path of destruction and harm's way. Love to you, healing, you know, the best to everyone. Stay safe, and I will see you all next week, Monday, hopefully Monday. All right, bye guys.